I understand, and in our platform, we got to kind of be, kind of sensitive to shit.
Yeah, you always gotta watch out, man. You always gotta watch out for what for certain things that you say and shit. But that's why we're here, bro. That's why we're here. Thank God we have our platform. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our living room, our barbershop, aka our virtual studio, man. And we are here. This is the Sports is My Love Language podcast. And I'm here with my crew. Super excited to bring you a whole new show. As always, we're gonna lead you into the Thursday night football games, especially with preseason and the season about to start. So it's a good momentum shift for us. As always, I got my crew with me. We got the fantasy master himself, aka El Shefter, my man Petey Pablo.
What's up?
We got El Colombiano, my man Javito, always with the points and everything. And we got my man, as always. I just found out. Don't call me Ak. My name is AK. What's going on, guys? All right, man. And not to mention, as always, we got our boy Major Money in the house. Major Money, what's going on, my man?
What's up, fellas?
Everything good. Everything good, bro.
What's up, man?
Man, we got a good show. We got a lot to talk about.
Yes, sir.
There was some big, shocking fights this weekend, man.
Ooh.
And just in the world of combat sports, period, there's a lot going on.
Isn't that great, though?
Yes. Yes. Let me tell you something. Dana White said it best. He goes, I don't care what sport's going on in the world. If everybody says, hey, look, there's a fight over there, everybody in the arena turns to go look at the fight. It doesn't matter what sport is going on behind them. And it's the truth, man. There's something about fighting, especially in our country, that just has a magnitude to it. And this weekend, right, there was the pound for pound. The consensus was that Usman was probably one of the pound for pound best fighters in the world at welterweight, which in what do you call it? I believe is 174. I might be off on that number, 170 something for welterweight in the UFC. He comes in with this aura of invincibility, man. He had just knocked out Jorge Masvidal. He had taken out Kobe Covington in some wars. He literally solidified himself as the top guy. Then you have this guy, this English dude to talk to the lisp, right? As it is, we have a thing about foreign fighters. I don't care what people say, Americans, we have this thing about foreign fighters where if you speak with an English accent, you have to go like that extra mile to get respect from American boxers and American viewers and all that stuff, right? So this guy goes 7-fight win streak, beats everybody, names that you know, household names, takes it the hard way, goes into this fight, and by all accounts, outside of the first round where he got a takedown or whatever, loses, I want to say, the majority of this fight. Is losing the majority of the fight. And in the last second, like a fucking scene out of Rocky, fucking drops him with a feint. I think it's a left jab. He throws the right jab, feints a left jab, but only to set him up to throw a left kick to the freaking temple. Knocks him out cold. What were your thoughts on the knockout, Petey Pablo? What did you see when you saw that? What were you thinking?
Well, I mean, the move alone looked really good. It looked like an intentional setup, maybe he saw something.
It was rehearsed
out there. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like he was just wailing and then he got, a lucky shot in at the last second. I think he was going for that, trying to do something as the clock was winding down. But you're right. I mean, he was getting beat up like seen out of Rocky, where Rocky's getting his, ass whooped against Ivan Drago, right, in Rocky 4. And then in the end, he's like, he hulks up, but really what I was, thinking in the aftermath, I mean, the knockout was like, holy shit, I'm saying, he caught him clean. I mean, you can knock down pretty much anybody with that kick, it was just flushing right in the fucking face. But I was kind of thinking about afterwards, like, not that I kind of mentioned in pre-production, like, will this be a Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson thing where this guy out of nowhere beats, the top dog, right? And now is this going to be a Buster Douglas situation where is he going to last as a champion or is he not going to last as a champion? Like how legit is this guy going to be or how not legit is this guy, because since I didn't know much about Edwards, right? All I know was what I saw that night, about that fight was, well, he was getting his, he wasn't winning, most of the fight, right? But he didn't get like again, like I said, it wasn't a lucky thing. He set him up to get him, which was smart. So the thing is, is this guy going to be a legit champion? I mean, I assume the rematch is going to be with Usman, and I guess, we expect Usman to get his title back, right? He's going to come back just like pissed. But let's just say hypothetically, do we think this guy's legit? This guy, if he wasn't going to fight Usman next and he was just going to take on another challenger, could this guy last a little bit longer? I'm not going to say he's going to be long-term champion like Usman. That's just, crazy. But, what do we think of this guy? That's kind of what my thought was.
I'm gonna let you guys talk about it, and then Javi, what are your thoughts? I know you watched you because you posted about it or something like that.
So all I'm gonna say is I'm gonna use the words as Usman used. It was a Hail Mary. It was a Hail Mary, and it got caught, right? But like Pablo stated, he was losing throughout the whole fight. He was going to lose the decision, Leon Edwards. Let's just put it that way. Another minute, and he loses that fight. I still think Usman is the better fighter. I was kind of damn, it just anything can happen in these combat sports, right? All it takes is basically one lucky punch, one lucky kick, and maybe I call it lucky, maybe it was strategic or whatever. But as the champion at that moment, I thought he was just he just let off his guard just a little bit. And as a matter of fact, you're talking about this much that he would have probably missed his head, right? But he got him, knocked him out. He's the title holder now. Now, the rematch for talks is going to be with Usman in England, where Leon Edwards is from. Now, I'm going to just say this right now. I don't think Leon Edwards is here for the long haul as a champion. I still think Colby Covington is better than him. The time that I saw Nate Diaz fight him, if Nate Diaz wasn't just such a knucklehead, he probably would have knocked him out because he had him. He had him with one shot, and all I remember Nate Diaz just pointing at him. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, knock him out. Like, finish him already. So I just feel like, for this one instant of brilliance, Leon Edwards caught the best fighter in the world. And I just feel like going to the next fight, we're going to see Usman at a different level. Now, we have seen champions that when they get knocked out, they become a little bit more, let's just say, defensive, because now they're always thinking, the knockout. I don't want to get knocked out again. So that now we got to see what kind of a champion Usman really was, right? Is he going to persevere? Is he going to overcome that? And to be quite honest, I hope he does, because I feel like he was still the better fighter, And does Leon Edwards deserve to win? Of course. Anybody deserves to win any single fight. It doesn't matter how you win, they're deserving. But I still think Usman's the better fighter. That's my take on it.
No, nice. AK, what are your thoughts on the fight this weekend? Did you call it? What were your thoughts on the Edwards?
Yeah, I mean, I think Usman is the best in the sport, right? I think he's nasty. I think he was on top of his game for a long time, and he would have won that fight. Obviously, everyone knows if it wasn't for that late kick that ended him. But I want to give Leon Edwards some props. First of all, big up Jamaica, man. Like, I know he's from England, but big up Jamaica, man. That's fantastic. That makes me feel all good inside. Second of all, the guy has only lost 3 times. Once to Usman, once in 2012 on a DQ, right? Disqualification. And then there was another, it was a split a decision loss in 2014. So since 2014, he's only lost once, and that was to Usman. So this guy's not a bum. Like, you know what I mean? He's a legit fighter. And when you're in combat sports, a legit fighter, all it takes is one shot, whether that's a kick, whether that's a punch, whether that's a slip. Now you're into some type of a submission. Like, that's how the game goes, man. And the one thing we know is if you fight long enough, you're going to lose. Like, somebody's going to come out there and then get that shot. If not, have someone who's actually better than you. So I don't think Usman is not as good as Edwards. I think he's the best. But I think, this guy got his shot. I think there's a lot of validity to what Javi just said about somebody who's never lost getting, knocked out like that, how it may affect the future of how they fight. Certainly, I'm curious to see that. I think the trilogy is absolutely in order. And then I'll just jump to another combat sport real quick. I think boxing kind of won this weekend with Joshua losing, because now you have two undefeated guys, both from Europe, both that should fight each other. Now, Fury's talking 500 mil. I'm sure if they can get him to jump in the ring,
yeah,
a lot of money to turn down, but that's fantastic. And I think Wilder should fight Joshua.
Right.
I think Joshua realized it was really odd what he did in the ring, but I think what it comes down to is he just kind of is thinking to himself, like he's starting to realize that I'm not as good of a fighter as I thought I was. As Eddie Hearn and these guys made me feel like I was due to who I was fighting and XYZ. So I think it's going to be interesting because the response was, oh, we're going to keep him busy. He's going to fight again this year. Like, we're going to go hard. I'm not sure what his response will be. Like, I expect that he'll still keep fighting. He's making too much money not to. But I don't know if he'll have in his mind that, oh, I'm the best and I just had one bad loss before. Like, I think that this could make a big difference and a big dent with Joshua here on this. And take Joshua away, you've got three legit, including Wilder, of course, you've got three legit heavyweights right now. And there's one or two younger guys who are coming up. So I think the weekend was good for boxing. Props to Usyk. I mean, the fact that he can now fight for an undisputed world championship with Tyson Fury, who I don't even know how Fury is going to look. Like, you can't just continue to not train and then just jump in for 2 or 3 months and then continue to beat the best in the world that way. Now, he's never lost before, so it's, you doubting somebody is crazy, in those circumstances. But I'm curious if does Fury still have it? He's obviously dealt with mental issues, things like that. For what they're fighting for, I'll just leave it with this thought that if they do sign Usyk and Fury, and if Fury can't go for any reason, I just want to officially throw my hat in the ring as a replacement if that comes to it. And yeah, exactly. I'll do it for $2 million. I don't need $2 million.
Yeah, right. $2 million. Good. Dre, what are your thoughts, man? What do you see this weekend? You catch any of the fights?
I'm excited, man. Yeah, I watched everything because fighting, like you said, is everybody's thing. The guys think it's intriguing. The women think it's sexy. It's like, you can't go wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I was excited to see it, man, because Usman is my favorite too. But I was waiting for one of you guys to say it. He didn't attempt to wrestle enough. He needed to tire that guy out a little bit. Maybe he underestimated him a little bit or didn't watch his previous fights. But Usman is excellent on the floor, and he didn't even attempt to use that as a tactic. And I even heard them saying directly after the fight that in the rematch that they know that that's what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
So I feel like he left something out there by not trying to wrestle a little more.
And I agree with you, Dre. But if you actually take a look at his last 3 fights, all he's been trying to do is knock you out.
Stand up and fight. That's fact. Yeah. That's a fact.
So I don't know if it was just his mindset
in his mind
that he's changed up his tactics as far as basically trying to win fights since he's been knocking everybody out.
Yeah,
because he didn't really wrestle Colby as much.
He didn't.
So he's been trying to more.
That was that beef. They had the type of beef that it couldn't be no wrestling. They just had to go in there and try to knock each other's head off. That's why that was a good fight.
Yeah, and I agree, and I agree with you. Usman has always been the great wrestler, and he hasn't been using his wrestling as much as the last 3 fights. And that's why it's been so amazing that he's just been able to knock people out and just use other types of forms of.
I hate to bring this guy up, but John Jones uses everything in his tool bag when he comes to fight, bro.
That's my pound for pound. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if he knows he needs to slow you down, he'll take 1 round and slow you down. I mean, he uses the steroids too in there, and
a couple of
and the coke and all the other shit. I understand. He uses everything, like I said.
Viagra.
But honestly, watching him fight, to me, he's the most complete stand-up leg kick, middle range, high threat fighter that I've ever seen in UFC.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this, all right. So here are my thoughts on this fight. 2 things. Number one, you guys addressed about the Usman not wrestling. I'll tell you what I feel happened, and I agree with you that he should have used more. But I feel like in the first round, when he got put on his back, right, when he tried to wrestle, and Edwards changed the position and used judo, like kind of put him on his back,
Right.
reverse the position. I think that kind of like shifted his mentality.
He
It
was
was
like,
like, oh,
I'm a
this isn't gonna be Jorge Masvidal, and I can hold him down. This isn't gonna be, you know what I'm saying? This isn't that type of fighter. This guy's gonna, he's a little
Right.
more quicker. So, and especially early on when they were dry, and he was able to put him in a rear naked choke. So I think he got not scared, but he was like, okay, this is not the route. This is not necessarily the route to win. Here's the thing. The only thing I saw, right? I watched the guy get beat up for 4 rounds, 4 rounds and some change. I saw him lose every what I thought was every minute for 4 rounds. And in that last round, what I did see was he had a choice. In that moment of crisis, what do? Do you act or do you fold? And it looked like he was going to fold. And everything in his history was like, wow, is this guy going to fold? What's going to happen here? And instead of folding, he acted. And he did exactly what he was training on, because they showed footage. I watched something today where they were showing footage, the exact move that knocked him out. The coach says, you're going to throw this punch, you're going to feint this, he's going to drop, you're going to kick, you're going to knock him out. So it was all planned out. I don't know why it happened so late in the fight, but I guess he must have seen something. Now, with that, I'm going to say this about Edwards, what kind of fighter he is. From what I've seen, he can hang with anybody not named Usman in the division. I think that once you go past Usman, I think him, Kobe, now you're talking about styles making fights. The matchup is what, you know what I mean? I would personally like to see him versus a Jorge Masvidal, and I think he watches Jorge Masvidal, personally. I think he takes him, right? Just because there's certain things that I see. But whatever. I think he's a good fighter. He's going to fight Usman next. I believe Usman wins. I don't think Usman walked out of that fight thinking, oh, shit, I got dominated. I think he realized I slipped. I made a mistake, a technical mistake that cost me, and that could happen to anybody. That can happen to anybody. Moving on to boxing. I think boxing best case scenario happened. Best case scenario is the 2 most technical heavyweights that we have right now. 2 heavyweights that move like much lighter weight guys with great technical ability, right, are about to fight each other. The only negative, and I know this is a bias and it's going to sound messed up, the only negative is that they're European. If these were 2 American, mark my word, if these were 2 American fighters, this would be the biggest thing on planet Earth right now. If these were 2 American fighters. But because they're 2 European fighters, they're probably going to fight in Europe sometime. They're going to, the heavyweight championship is going to be over there. It's not getting the hype that it should. Within boxing circles, it's a great fight. I think technically, I think I got Fury to win because Fury does everything Usyk does, plus he's bigger and stronger. So, but as I move close to the fight, I'll give you a better prediction. But overall, boxing is in great hands. I think the UFC, as always, is killing it with the promotions. They're doing their damn thing. They're killing it. So, boxing, and like I said, these combat sports, bro, they know how to do it. They know how to do it right, man. They know how to do it right. We're going to move on. We're going to go on to the next topic. Hey, so, guys, college football is back. The other day, right, you guys had a show, and I wasn't able to be on. And I promise you, I was like fucking itching like a crackhead behind the scenes talking about, oh, my God, no, I got to talk about this shit. Man, listen, first I'm gonna defer to you guys first. Is there any teams that you see, that you heard of, that you root for, that you either A, want to know about, maybe you're not up to par to see where they're at, or B, anything you've heard about college football that you're interested in a topic that you want to talk about, and then I'll take over and let you guys know what
I'm just curious, is Alabama going to be any good?
They're going to be phenomenal.
I heard
They're
that.
gonna be phenomenal.
Ohio State, like, are they going to have a good team? Or
Here's the thing about Ohio State. So you mentioned a team like Ohio State, right? So Ohio State, believe it or not, right? A lot of people on the outside that watch college football, they're automatically saying their talent level is so far above everybody else. That's not named Alabama, that they should be just fine. But there is a plot line within Ohio State that people have not recognized yet, that I'm calling out, and I want people to know that I said it here first.
Can't win in the playoffs?
No, not that. There may be a slip, and there's one area that there may be a slip in, and it's coaching. This is the first year that Ryan Day, the head coach, is working with his own recruits. This is his recruiting class. This is his first group of seniors. Before this, he was working with Urban Meyer. Everything Urban Meyer had done, all the roadmap, everybody he had left behind, all that talent, all that senior class, those junior classes, those national championship appearing classes, that was all Urban Meyer's work. Okay, so he was literally riding that coattail. And let me tell you something, you could have put me. It was like when Barry Switzer took over for what he called the Dallas Cowboys. Anybody could have won that. Anybody could have won that Super Bowl, right? That's how I feel about Ryan Day. Anybody can drive that car. Now let's see, with your players and your talent and your scheme and your whole impulse behind this, let's see if it's at that level. I do not. That's a question that still has to be answered. Now, the good thing is he's in a division that, although it's the deepest division in all of college football, it's not that powerful. Meaning, after Ohio State, there's a drop-off in talent. Like even Michigan, there's a good 1, 2, maybe even a 2 or 3 tier drop-off when we're talking talent to Michigan. You know what I mean? And then after that, there's a middle of the pack that's really big, and then there's a few guys at the very end. Now, I'll tell you a school that's going to surprise people. There's 2 schools that are going to surprise people coming out of the Big Ten. Rutgers and Maryland. Mark my words. They will not. I'm not saying they're going to win it or anything like that, but they will not be in the basement of that division this year.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Yeah, Mike, Schiano's not used. Like, he's not. It's the same thing as what you said about Day on the opposite. Schiano doesn't have all of his guys, really. Like, he's still dealing with a lot of the upperclassmen from the last regime.
How many years has he been there? Last year was his first year?
Last was his first
year. Yeah.
All right.
But he was able to retain some defense. But some good things.
But the thing about Schiano is that, like let's just go back to Ryan Day, right? There's a level of coaching that either upgrades your talent, as far as coaching is concerned, or downgrades your talent, And I think Schiano upgrade. Let's just say the talent level is here. What Schiano does is upgrades that talent with his
absolutely.
Coaching, So I agree, and I'm hoping that Rutgers. Obviously, I'm not looking for a championship. I'm just hoping them to be more competitive in games. Yeah, because honestly, bro, as a Jersey guy, Rutgers has always been there, and they were perennial losers while I was, in high school. But that Ray Rice year, where with Louisville and all that, oh my God, man! I mean, can we get those years again against Schiano? That's what we're looking for.
That's all.
Am I right, AK? Am I right, AK?
A bowl.
It's such a tragedy. The one year that they beat Louisville with Ray Rice and all them, I was living in Miami that year, so I wasn't there. But I went to the bar, and there was, for the first time and only time ever, they were giving Rutgers shout-outs in Miami and Coconut Grove and South Beach. It was pretty cool.
Look at that. So let's move on. I'm gonna go to the Pacific to the what is it? The Pac-10. Is it the Pac-10?
Yeah, Pac-10.
All right.
It's the whack.
Okay.
Don't waste too much time learning about conferences. There's only going to be 1 or 2. And
there's only going to be. They're going to shut that down soon, man. There's going to be 2.
Just call them the West Coast teams.
So I'm going to go. A team that's going to do very well right away is going to be USC. USC is going to be in the championship for their conference against Utah. They're going to be in there against Utah. They're going to be that good. I believe that they have the quarterback that they got from Oklahoma. They got a top-tier running back that they recruited. They got the best wide receiver in the country that transferred from Pitt, and they got one of the most dynamic offensive minds. Defensively, they're solid. They're not great, but in that division, I don't think there's that many high-powered offenses that they have to be extraordinary and drop 40 a game. So I think they're going to make the championship even in their first year. Now, will they make any noise in the national scene? I don't know. I don't think they're ready to hang with the Alabamas and all them. They're about a year away, and their issues are up front on the offensive defensive line. Once they get those solidified and they get those big guys up front, they'll be able to hang with anybody in the country.
Well, I think their season at the end is going to come down to whether or not they beat Notre Dame. If they're in contention, if they're in that top 5-ish, right, top 6-ish, and Notre Dame is still there as well, I mean, I think in the end, no matter how good they are, that's going to decide their future for, in terms of contention.
Here's the thing about Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a giant question mark next to their name. Brand new coach, brand new system, completely different language. So they went from a dictator, right? A dictator-style coach where he was the head patriarch to a player's coach, okay? Where everybody loves him and it sounds good on paper right now. Now, Notre Dame, I think, schedule-wise, they have a favorable schedule. They should be all right. They're going to win 10 games, something like that. But as far as competing with the elite competition, I have to see how they react to this new regime, man.
No, but what I mean, I'm talking about USC's future this season.
Yeah,
that's a rivalry game, and if
that is a rivalry game.
If USC is well and in contention,
yeah,
and all of a sudden they got to play Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is also top ranked at that time still.
That'll determine
whether or not USC is a contender or not.
Absolutely,
I think for both of those teams, really. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying?
Well, Notre Dame versus Ohio State, we won. So now here's the thing, right?
No, Tyson thinks that's going to be an upset. So
I'm going to be putting down bets. Now I can't bet here in Florida, but I'm going to be putting down every week my 5 games of the week, right? And I'm going to surprise people with week 1. I'm going to put it out there right now. There's not going to be one game, not this Ohio State game, not the Alabama game. There's not going to be one game, right? Mark my words. I know the experts aren't saying this, but you heard it here from me. That's going to be within 2 touchdowns. Ohio State's blowing the doors off of Notre Dame by 2 touchdowns. You heard it here first. I'm going to write it down so you guys can mark it. 2 touchdowns win by Ohio State. They're blowing the doors off of Notre Dame. The difference in talent right now it's insane between the 2 classes. Number 2, Alabama, what they're going to do, I believe it's to Texas, right? They play Texas? I believe Alabama.
I believe it's Texas. Let me double check.
Yeah, let me double check that for me, somebody. I believe it's Texas.
I got it.
Because I said week 1, Alabama blows the doors off of Texas. Mark my word, that's another 12 plus. I'm putting it down on paper that it's going to be disgusting. It's not going to be close. These people that are like,
they play Utah State first, which is September 10th. They play Texas.
Texas, that's the game I'm talking about.
Wait, you're saying that Nick Saban's not going to have a fall off now that he signed his fat contract?
Yeah, right. That 90 mil. Nah, he's putting the foot on the gas. As a matter of fact, Texas has a Heisman candidate.
They got A&M a month later.
He has a Heisman candidate running. You see, that's the game.
That's going to be the.
You just said it right there. I don't want to go too far forward. Yeah. That's the game that they're probably going to lose this year. Alabama always loses one. If there's a game to lose, it's that Texas A&M game. But before that, I want to address this. Texas has a Heisman Trophy running back candidate. They're either he's gonna look so bad against Alabama, and they're gonna blow the doors off him that he's gonna get off that ballot, or they're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because it was Alabama he was facing, and they're gonna keep him on. But my words, that Alabama-Texas game is gonna be a blowout. But I'll start with the Ohio State Notre Dame game. It won't be close. I'm going 12 plus points on that. That's how big the margin I think is gonna be.
You're talking about Bijan Robinson from Texas?
Yeah, number 6. Yeah, he's a beast. Don't get me wrong, and he's a multi-talented guy. He's gonna go high in the draft. But nope, sorry. In the ACC, I'm gonna, this weak ass division this year. I'm gonna say I've been tooting this guy's horn, and I expect this team to make a comeback. And they had a slight fall off over the last year or 2.5, and it's Clemson. Clemson had 0 running game, and their defense was lacking. They went out, they recruited defense, and they have a top-notch running game coming in as a freshman, and to complement their quarterback, who is, to me, still has one of the best talents in all the country. They just he hasn't shined yet, but he will. The other one is two teams to watch. LSU. LSU is not gonna they're not gonna go to national championship like that, but they're gonna be very presentable. That Chip Kelly Chip Kelly offense, he's gonna come in there and he's gonna
I think it's Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly. Sorry, the Brian Kelly offense, he's gonna come in, he's gonna do his thing, he's gonna get that talent right. They're gonna be presentable. They're not gonna win, but they're gonna be very presentable. Keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on a team called North Carolina. The North Carolina Tar Heels. They have what is the second best defensive player in all the country in their defensive backfield. This kid started as an 8th grade. I was a freshman. He was a senior in high school, and he had finished early, and they let him start against I believe it was Clemson the year after, and he was starting as a freaking high school senior.
Are you talking about Julius Peppers?
No, not Julius Peppers. We're talking about. You said what?
Nope, we lost him.
Oh, yeah, he's a monster. So look for him. Who else? There's one more team that I want to point out that's going to be good. Oh, hey, Miami Hurricanes, man, we're going to be all right. We got a new stadium in Tropical Park. I don't know if you guys saw that. There's going to be a brand new stadium for the Hurricanes in Tropical Park. That's going to be a big deal. So as the season goes on, you'll hear more about college football from me. I'll drop some more info.
I don't want that stadium by Tropical Park, by the way, bro.
Don't you live close to it?
No, he still lives in Casa Carajo from there.
No, bro. I live like 7 miles away, bro. And honestly, man, the traffic is horrible as it is. Yeah. Just imagine that stadium being put there now, and every single because
nobody goes to Marlins Park. So
And not only that, but I think the Hurricanes have been contracted till 2033 to play in that stadium. So I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll probably take that long to build it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But all I know is they got some funding and they got some zoning already done. They put the little project out to show everybody what it might look like. Let me tell you something. That'll make a world of difference, man.
They should replace their mascot, the ibis, with a gallo.
With a rooster, a fucking rooster.
La Carreta's right down the freaking block too, bro.
La Carreta.
They could get the gallo from
They should have. Now with Mario Cristobal there, they should just forget Sebastian. Put a fucking gallo.
No. Don't forget Sebastian. Because we could call him Sebastian. You know what
Sebastian.
I'm saying?
Man, put a mascot, call him People. The freaking gallo.
People gallo. All right. So now, check this out, ladies and gentlemen. It's fantasy football season. I know a lot of you guys are getting ready to go draft for your leagues. You guys are getting stuff together with your peoples every year. You're getting your leagues together. Well, I want you guys to make sure that you tap into one of our resources. We got a guy on our squad that we consider pretty damn close to an expert. I consider him an expert, man. The guy's in a lot of different leagues. He's been doing it in a lot of different ways. He's won a lot of different championships. So he knows his stuff. We got our man El Shefter. El Shefter, what's going on, bro? We're gonna talk fantasy football. Right off the bat, I want to throw a couple of questions at you, right? Number one question that I have. What are your thoughts on Saquon Barkley and where do you think he'll go?
Okay, so this question I need to, I would answer in two different ways, as a Giants fan and as a fantasy football player. As a Giants fan, I'm glad to see he's healthy. He looks strong. And so I think he's going to be fine. As a fantasy player, I think, you get him in the second round, and I think he's going to pay off in that second round cost. I think he's going to be a lot better this year. Am I going to say that he was what he was in his rookie year and all that? I don't know. But I think he's healthy, and I think you get him in that mid-second round, mid to late second round, depending on how your draft goes. I think it's going to be worth it. Especially if you were able to get a running back in the first round, you're going to have a good 1-2 combo. Now, would I make him my number one running back, like my RB1? Because I took a wide receiver in the first round? I don't know. That's why you got to kind of play it out. But I think if you are able to get yourself a good quality running back in the first round, and you are a believer in that running back process in for your first 2 rounds, and you get Barkley as your second, I think you're going to be in a very, very good spot.
So let me ask you this then, Pablo. What would you consider an automatic first-round pick as a running back?
Taylor, Eckler, Henry, for sure. Dalvin Cook, for sure. I do like McCaffrey. I just not at his average draft position that he's going at number 2. I don't like that. So but I like him in the late first round.
So McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley, you would still lean towards McCaffrey, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he right now has shown that he can be a pass catcher as well. And also with Baker there, Baker does throw to the running backs because we saw that in Cleveland with, more so with Kareem Hunt, not so much with Chubb, but with Kareem Hunt. So I think that helps McCaffrey. Maybe boosted because Baker being named the starter, maybe boosted McCaffrey a little bit. I don't like his ADP at 2 overall for me. But I like him late first round, because maybe you can, again, kind of do the same thing, piggyback off another running back to back if you're picking late in that first round and you get 2 quality running backs, something like that. Najee is interesting to me because he's in there in that first round, right? He's in there, give or take, I don't know, 8, 7, 8, 9, pick overall average draft position. I'm not quite sure on how I feel about him. That Pittsburgh line has been rebuilt, but I don't know how good that's going to be.
And I got a question for you. So I believe right now they don't really have a quarterback that's a threat. So I think a lot of teams are going to stack the box.
But they're both playing well.
Right, but they're both playing well. So I think if early on in the season
people have been playing really well,
people are going to stack the box. I think they got that one wide receiver that's shining that could help. But I do believe that.
And that's why it's tricky because George Pickens is going to be a good sleeper this year.
Let's do that.
I think he will overshadow Chase Claypool. He's not going to overshadow Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson is going to catch those short passes, quick slant, right? And take a 8-yard slant and get numbers off of that. But Pickens can be your guy. They can be their guy. And with Pat Freiermuth there as their tight end, that's why it's been a little bit tricky for me to kind of how I feel on Najee. Because on talent alone and the way he plays, he's good. So it's not that I question his talent. Is I question that line first and foremost. And you're right, the quarterback is a question. I think Pickett will be the starter at some point.
I do too.
Not right away. I think Trubisky will win the job. And I don't think Trubisky's terrible, right now. But especially playing in the way he's been playing in that system. But I think Pickett has the moxie that Trubisky doesn't have.
It's a great word.
That's the difference. But he's got to beat him out. And I think Trubisky has to struggle a little bit in the beginning for Pickett to take the job.
Okay. I believe like I said, I just think they're going to stack the box early because if I'm a defense coordinator, right, and I'm looking at that Pittsburgh team, and I have to pick an order and who to stop, I'm going to shut down Najee, right? I'm going to put it on the arm of a Trubisky to beat me. So I'm stacking the box. Bring the safety over the top. I'm like, let's do this. Let's see if you could beat me down the field.
That's the way you got to do it. But I think either Pickett or Trubisky have the ability to make you pay. Not dropping you bombs downfield, but just slicing and dicing you with the short passing game.
Okay. All right. If you had to go
ahead, Mike.
Who are your sleepers? Who are your sleeper picks? You just said one in my man. What do you call it? What's his name? From
George Pickens.
Yeah. Give me 2 more. Give me 2 more sleepers that people.
So for wide receiver, he's my number 1 sleeper. For running back, it's Breece Hall. Even though they're naming Michael Carter the start, I don't believe that's going to be the case. Out of New York. And
okay.
Yeah. Pierce, is it Pierce from Houston? He looks really good at running back. Mm-hmm. And I mean, for quarterback, I am leaning on Trey Lance, even though he's going higher in average draft position, but I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be really good. He's in terms of where you draft him. I think he's going to pay off that probably a little bit better in the end. I just think, because people are seeing that. But it's really going to be also dependent on what San Francisco does with Jimmy, because they got about a week to decide. Trade him, cut him, or keep him and eat that $24 million. So it's still Trey Lance's team, though. They already made it clear it's his team, regardless of whether Jimmy is there or not. So I think he's going to be able to play confidently. But, he's like a diamond in the rough, right? He's still a piece of coal. Mm-hmm. He's had less than 400 snaps since freaking high school. That's not a lot of snaps. And now you want to put him on a quality team and expect him to, take you to the playoffs? Win in the playoffs? Mm-hmm. But the talent is there. That's why they took him. Because he is a piece of coal that can turn into a diamond. He's got that high upside. But in that and that's the type of offense that he can excel in. So I think from the quarterback, I think it could be him. I think Derek Carr is a sleeper for fantasy this year.
Mm.
Daniel Jones, baby.
So
yeah, I got two rapid fires. I got two rapid fires for you. How about Devontae Parker?
He's with New England, right?
Yeah, he's in New England.
He's in New England. He's got to be number one there.
He will be the number one. I don't know off the top of my head, bro. Yeah, I mean, I have
that's
to
a
see.
flex. That's a flex.
I have to see where he's been going, but at where he's being, I could actually look at that right now.
What about J.K. Dobbins?
He's being undervalued in drafts. And my other question would be, I know ETN's back, but what about Robinson over in Jacksonville? Man, he's had two strong seasons.
Robinson still looks to be the starter, but Etienne will be the more explosive running back. And
he's got the connection with
Lawrence
with Sunshine, yeah.
Yeah. So
but I feel like he's going to be basically a third down back.
That's what I say, a pass catcher out the back.
It's going to start that way, but I think it's going to transgress. They're going to be on the field. They should run the two together on the field a lot and make the threat.
Like you look at a lot of guys built like him, like Spiller. Like I could name a ton of them that never worked out.
Yeah. So Devontae Parker's average draft position is in the 140s right now.
Right.
I mean, that's
I guess you're looking at the matchup for that week to see if it's favorable in his position. So he's a flex option.
I mean, can he outplay that? Of course, he can play out that draft position.
I wouldn't take him like week 13 in Buffalo. Let's put it that way. Where he's going to throw the ball.
No, but he's the best thing they've had in quite some time.
Why not? He's the number one. He's the number one option on that team.
Because Mac Jones threw the ball 3 times in Buffalo last year.
Okay, that's a good reason.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why you don't take
Megatron in that case either, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hold on. But the weird thing is this, right? They don't even who is their offensive coordinator right now?
They don't know.
It's not Josh McDaniels anymore. So it's Patricia and Joe Judge.
Yeah, right now, I think I saw it yesterday. Was it yesterday? Today, the leading candidate to be the OC is Patricia.
But
which
again,
tells me absolutely not.
Exactly. So, do you really even trust the offensive coordinator to make Devontae Parker that much more of what he could be?
If the reports are true that they're letting
Mac
Jones kind of
dictate
a little more of the reins, I'd have more confidence in him than I would Patricia or Joe Judge.
Well, of course.
I'm going to throw a running back name out there for you, Pablo, and you tell me what you think about him. Swift out of Detroit.
He's going to be good.
He's gonna be good, right? I think he's a sleeper.
I think he's a sleeper.
He's like your second running back.
Yes,
he's good though.
Yes, that's for sure.
Would you take J.K. Dobbins over Swift?
Well, the thing is that they put Gus Edwards on PUP, so he's gonna miss the first 4 games. I think Dobbins is ready because he got injured so
it's already last year, right before preseason.
So assuming that with the way medicine is today, that guys are coming back from these type of ACLs, right? These type of injuries,
quote unquote medicine,
as opposed to back in the day where it took a whole year back.
Right, quote unquote medicine.
Yeah. We got to call it medicine because it's standard now, right? So
quote unquote medicine.
We got to call it that medicine. So really, because everyone thought, well, it's going to still be Gus Edwards. But Gus Edwards was injured too, and we also have to remember that running game still includes Lamar Jackson, but it didn't really hinder the running backs, even with Jackson running. That's just a potent running attack period across the board. That's what makes it so dangerous.
J.K. Dobbins was touted to be the starting running back after his rookie season.
Yeah, he was.
So now it's like he's fully healthy.
He's going 53rd overall, give or take, in kind of in that range.
So he's your second running back.
Yeah, for sure. And I know, and he's going to have the opportunity to solidify because I can't even remember who the third guy is right now. Who's going to be the backup right now? With Gus Edwards going to miss those first 4 games, but I will. I've taken him in a lot of best ball drafts. And for those type of fantasy leagues, a lot actually. I've actually paired him up when I've taken Jackson. I've tried to get him as well. in some of those leagues. So, I feel good where he's at right now, 53rd, and his draft position might go up a little bit now, knowing that Gus Edwards is out for the first 4 games. So I hope he doesn't get priced out enough out of it if that goes too high.
Hey, Pops, give me 1 or 2 players that you think are fool's gold. Fool's gold. Don't touch them with a 10-foot pole, even though they look good on paper. Who's somebody that you're like, they look great, they look amazing, but I'm not fucking with them this year?
McCaffrey.
My thing about that is
Jalen Hurts.
I don't disavow players just for the sake of who they are. To me, it's about where you're telling me you want to take them, and I'll tell you whether or not it's worth the price.
Right.
Like I can tell you, I'm not taking Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert or Josh Allen in the first 3 rounds, minimum. I'm not saying that they suck. I'm just saying it's just, it's fool's gold. It's fool's gold for the overall team. You know what I'm saying? It's not fool's gold about the player. It's fool's gold for your strategy. It's fool's gold for your success of your team.
What about a Kirk Cousins? Where do you think he lands?
I think he's gonna have great numbers.
I think so too, man.
I think he's gonna with this new offense.
Alvin Cook.
Yeah, he has the ability from at least from a numbers perspective to just ball out, and he's been doing it. It's not like he hasn't done it.
Does. That's what I'm saying. Like fantasy wise, you're good with a Kirk Cousins being your starting quarterback.
Always guys like that. That's why I don't.
He doesn't
those other
turn the
guys.
ball over.
Yeah, that's why you don't have to chase a quarterback early because you would always get Kirk Cousins in the back end.
You know what I'm saying? I would love, like I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Is I would love to be able to take like a Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr and then maybe pair him up with a Trey Lance. But I think Trey Lance is starting to go before those guys. So threw that out of whack a little bit for me. But depending on the people in your leagues too.
Here's a player I haven't heard much about in the offseason. Maybe I'm just not listening close enough, but that a couple years ago was a world beater, and I want to know what your thoughts are with pairing him up with their new quarterback, Michael Thomas, out of New Orleans.
I think with Jameis, I think they would have had a good thing. We haven't seen it, right? But the way Jameis started off last year didn't look like the interception-prone Jameis. It was more controlling. But here's the thing: they got a similar wide receiver-ish there with Landry there. They're the short game guys, right?
Yeah.
We got Olave
the rookie. Olave is going to be the big threat, right? The rookie. So I don't know how much he's going to factor in terms of fantasy production. I mean, he's going.
Oh, it might have taken some reps from him. Yeah.
He's going about. Let me see. Where is he? He's not even going that high anymore. He's going about 64th overall. So you know what? That's pretty good. That's about third.
That's 100 catches. They're expecting him over 100 catches.
Yeah. So that at that price, yeah, why not? At around in the 64, 65 overall, 63 depending. Sure, that's pretty good. I'll take a chance on that. Is he going to be the old Michael Thomas? I don't know. We haven't seen him play. It feels like he's been gone for like years. Well, he has been gone for years, but like longer than 2 years. So. But at 64, sure, I'll pay that. I'll pay that and have with the potential for even better upside to outplay that 64 average draft position ranking that he has.
Okay.
Russell Wilson, book it.
What do you think Russell Wilson does?
He's going to have a fantasy year, bro.
He's
got guys who can get down the field. He's got guys who can run routes. He's got running backs to take a little pressure off him.
Yeah,
and he's got defenders who are going to be coming and playing in a high altitude.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of those guys that I would probably I can wait on because he's like maybe going 11th overall. I'm not 11th ranked quarterback, right? Okay. Out of all the quarterbacks, so he's a starter for sure. Top 12. But again, that's why you can kind of wait on get guys like that, right? You don't have to take Mahomes and Herbert and Allen, who are the top 3. Going above that, so you can wait. Lamar Jackson being that, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, kind of those are like the top 5 guys at quarterback right now, which makes sense. But I'm not going to spend a 3rd round pick, not even a 4th round pick on that. Yeah. I got to get my my first 3 skill positions, first 4 skill positions out there and set up.
Rank your tight ends.
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. When do you start picking your tight ends? What round?
if I'm going to wait, like if I'm not going to base it around Kelsey or Andrews.
Where would you take Kelsey or Andrews? Let's just put it that way. What round should you be targeting Kelsey or Andrews?
You got to make that. That's the thing about Kelsey and Andrews is you have to make that choice in the second round whether or not you're going to take them.
Right.
Once
then you got to base your whole team off of that. Exactly. You got to base it because
like
after that,
right?
Really
like you could take Pitts and you could take Kittle, and you're not losing out on Andrews, maybe Kelsey. So I feel like once you get to where there's like only one or two of those top 4 or 5 tight ends, grab one.
I do feel that there's a difference when you say Pitts because it's not Matt Ryan throwing it to him anymore. You know, and so like to me, it really just depends on the quarterback who's throwing the ball to them as well. You know, like Lamar Jackson leans on Andrews, so
but
Andrews is going to get his thing.
But here's my thing on it is that if I'm going to take a tight end early, I have to do it early. I have to do it in the second round. I'm either going to take the first one of the to me, it's Kelsey and Andrews, and that's it for me. That's my tier. Tier 2, now it's Pitts, it's Kittle, it's Waller. And then after that is everybody else.
But here's the thing. I would take Waller over Kittle and Pitts because I know Derek Carr will still target Waller the same way he would always target. And I'm not too sure about Mariota. And I'm not too sure with what's his name, Trey Lance at this moment. So it's kind of like, let me go with what's already known that we've seen for the last few years, as opposed to jumping on the tight ends that we've known, like Kittle. Like if you just say Kittle, yeah, he's a top 3 tight end. But now is the quarterback going to be the same? Is he still going to be targeted the same? You know, so now that brings me to start thinking, all right, I'm still going to go with Andrews and Kelsey as the top 2 because the quarterbacks have not changed there. And now do I bring Waller up a little bit more, knowing that the fact that the
only question about the Pitts, the Kittles, and the Wallers is because they're going in the 4th round. Pitts 3rd round, Kittle 4th round, Waller 4th round. There are still quality receivers in those rounds. That's what I'm talking about is you have to make that decision. Is this receiver going to have better numbers than my tight end? And then from Kittle down to like Dawson Knox, what is the difference? And it's not going to be a lot. It's not going to be a lot in points per game for fantasy points. So would you rather have a better quality wide receiver and you can get something similar in terms of fantasy points to Kittle further down and get a quality receiver, or take your chance with the tight end and then you're going to have a lesser quality receiver down there where you would have taken Knox? That's what I'm talking about. That's why with Kelsey and Andrews, if you're going to take them in the second round, and now you have to base your team on that because at least with them, you're getting receiver numbers.
But at least the thing is that you'll find more receivers that are comparable going in the later rounds as opposed to tight ends that are that type of caliber.
That's my whole point is you have to make that decision. Am I going to get a quality tight end and now base the rest of my team that way? Or am I going to be a punting on tight end? I'm going to be streaming every week. And with tight end, that's your choice. I'm either taking the guy early, and that's my foundation of the team. Forget your 1st round pick. That's the easiest pick in the world. Now, because if you're going to target a tight end, I think you better take a running back in the 1st round. If you're going to take Kittle if you're going to take Kelsey or Andrews in the 2nd round, you better get a quality running back because you're going to get asked out down the road. With your running backs. So if that's what you're going to do, fine, do it, and then build your team off of that because those two are like getting is like getting a wide receiver 1.
Correct
numbers. If not, I'm not going to take those middle tier guys. I'm going to punt, and I'll take a Hawkinson, a Dawson Knox, a Cole Kmet, or
Streamer,
or the only guy I won't take will be Butterfingers because he's going to be Butterfingers forever for the Evan Ingram. So, but if not, just stream every week. Stream it every week.
Cowboys tight end did pretty well last year.
Schultz is my sleeper tight end this year.
What about Gesicki getting traded?
We'll see if he gets traded because they have him blocking. They have him doing a lot of blocking, and he don't know how to block.
No, yeah, he's a.
And in that San Francisco offense, you have to block.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Kittle's a blocker. Kittle knows how to block, but he's also very talented receiving. But Gesicki's struggling, so he's going to get traded now. Depending on where he lands, that might change things.
Gesicki's body is wide receiver-ish.
Yes.
Yeah, he's thin. He's thin. He's
not tight end built like even Pitts is way bigger than him.
Yeah, Pitts is a beast. So we're gonna move on, guys. So this weekend, as always, my man Coach Prime, made some comments regarding the Hall of Fame in the NFL. He talked about how he's always been saying this for a while, how the NFL's Hall of Fame has become the Hall of Very Good, right? And he's always competed that, it's just not fair that some, the greats are in the same category as players that are just good and barely made it in for the skin of their teeth. And then he made a comment, right? And of course he made it with his ego, but I thought it was an interesting topic to talk about. He made a point. He said he feels that there should be levels to the Hall of Fame, that there should be a top tier that gets a gold jacket, and then there should be the guys that get in, let's say, through time or through exemptions or through, that there's like a later round of players that get in over time or whatever, that they should get it through, they should get a silver jacket to recognize that they came in that way as opposed to, the top. And he points to guys like Jim Brown, Lawrence Taylor himself, Ronnie Lott, guys that he feels like separated themselves from the pack. And then he points out a couple of players, that he's like, these guys, they barely made it in, like on many years, they weren't even the best player in the league or whatever. So I wanted to know what your thoughts are. I know, the knee-jerk reaction is to jump all over it and be like, hey, it's bullshit. But AK, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the him pointing out that maybe the Hall of Not So Good, or tier 1 should get a gold jacket, tier 2 should get a silver jacket?
He's feeling himself. It's arrogant as shit. Like, you're never going to have a sport where everybody in the Hall of Fame is as good as everybody else in the Hall of Fame. It doesn't even make sense. Like, that's just, if he thinks they should be more selective, all right, sure. But that's one of those, like, what, does it bother you that somebody else who was really, really, really good, you think wasn't as good as you, made the Hall of Fame? I think it's ridiculous. I think it's just stupid. There's never going to have 2 tiers in the Hall of Fame. That doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not something that's ever going to happen. It's just something really arrogant to say. And it's his way of saying that he thinks there's some people he obviously thinks there's some people who shouldn't be getting in. But to say that you're going to have 2 tiers of a Hall of Fame, like, I don't even give that any credence or anything like that. Like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Victor, what are your thoughts?
So, yes, he's very arrogant, but I think I've talked about this with you a few times, where I feel like there's certain parameters here that quarterbacks specifically, for some reason win a Super Bowl, and just because of that Super Bowl win, get invited to the Hall of Fame, even though their numbers and statistics would show you that they were not as good as, let's just say, portrayed. I never saw the guy play. I just look at statistics. I look at Joe Namath. He has, you know what I'm saying? He has more interceptions than he's thrown touchdowns, And I always said to myself, how is that Hall of Fame-ish? When you have basically turned the ball over more than you actually have scored touchdowns. Like, to me, I'm just there like, is that Hall of Fame? Or was it just that Hall of Fame moment that he predicted that they would win the Super Bowl, and that's why he's in the Hall of Fame? So in a way, I understand where Dion Prime Tom is talking about, because he's absolutely right. Like, there's a difference between just people getting in, and there's a difference between who should get in, right? Because automatically, if I just say right now, Aaron Donald, all of us are going to say Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame without a doubt, right? Now, if I'm to bring up another very, very good defensive player right now, he's on the Dallas Cowboys. What's his name? The guy, DeMarcus Lawrence. No. What's the other guy? The other, forget his name already.
Lawrence.
DeMarcus Lawrence. Am I right?
Right.
All right. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Nah.
Not right now.
Okay, but he's very.
His career
good,
isn't
right?
over. We can't assess that.
But he's been very good, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, if his career ends tomorrow, is he a Hall of Famer?
No. Right. But we gotta understand the context of what Javi's talking about is if right now
you got to give me a defensive player that's retired that was considered, very good.
That was just very good and made it to the Hall of Fame.
No, you're just saying if you want to use Aaron Donald because he's a clear cut, even though his career is not over. Correct. We're talking about active players. If you want to project active players, yeah, it's easy to take Aaron Donald and say that. I'll give you someone that may or may not be questionable. J.J. Watt.
No, J.J. Watt to me is a Hall of Fame.
Watt's in.
Defensive player multiple times.
Yeah, multiple player of the year.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you get to the point of like, Peyton Manning, we know he's a Hall of Famer, but now we're going to start questioning his brother, Eli Manning. You take away those 2 Super Bowls. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, but I don't know. It's fine to question the line. No problem, right?
Okay.
But what Dion is saying is, if you get in, you should be labeled differently once you're in. I think that's where it's ridiculous. What does it matter at that time?
I think
But I get it.
Once you get in. Yeah, how you get in. So, like, you can get in, but you got in as a silver member. You didn't get in as a gold member.
What does that mean? Okay, I didn't get in the first time I was eligible. So the fuck what? That's the point. It's stupid. So the fuck what?
I think the point is that
what does it do to say?
Part of me hears what you guys are saying. Right?
I'm a goal. I got it.
But I want to play devil's advocate. Right? I bust my ass to be the very, very best. Right? I bust my ass to be the very best ever. Okay. And I saw, the amount of work I put in, the amount of effort I put in, and then you get a guy that
didn't work as hard.
His name, Everson Walls, I think it is, that got in like after 10 years, 15 years of like revotes, and finally on the last, it was kind of like okay. So here's what it is. There are some players that get in, and I feel like it's a pity vote, where they got lucky, and the class that they came in with no longer kind of matched up to the class they initially were up against. You know what I mean? Like if you look back, like the players that get in later, you know what I'm saying, on the back end of their careers, and they were like, oh, you ever see those specials? Oh, look, he finally made it after 10 times of whatever. I'll give you a good example. Darren Woodson from the Cowboys, right? There's nowhere on earth that Darren Woodson, right, stands next to Ed Reed, and you say these 2 are comparable players. They're not.
You're going back to rewrite history because you're taking some people that came after other guys.
No, what I'm just saying.
And you're saying this guy was better than this guy. So what? Pull him out of the Hall of Fame? And
say, no, not pull him out. Not pull him out.
We're gonna silver you now because
not pull him out.
Came after you and he was so great.
But if you had to hesitate, what they're saying is, if you had to hesitate and make him a second ballot, so you had to hesitate and think twice.
How about this? How about saying you can only vote for Hall of Fame players first? They're eligible one time and one time only.
We'd have like
because that's what people like Dion want. That's what Dion wants. You know what? First time you're eligible one time, and if you're good enough, you're good enough. If you're not, you're not. Because if you have to think about it, then maybe you're questioned. That's what he's saying.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying. And that's utterly stupid because then define the line, define the definition of first. Automatic. What's
the problem? The problem becomes with the second part of our topic. The problem really becomes the second part of our topic because who gets the vote. Who gets the vote. And
but you don't feel like the Hall of Fame is not diluted at all?
I do.
You have to tell me what the line is. What is the dilution?
Man, you could just have an eyeball test. You could tell who's freaking great and who's just very good.
So there's a difference. This is the part to Mike's next question. Whose eyeballs? Whose eyeballs should count? Whose eyeballs should be the definitive say for automatic Hall? You're in. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what you do as long as don't get yourself commit a crime. You're in.
I would say living Hall of Fame members should be voting right now for Hall of Fame people to get in.
Which is what we were talking about in pre-production the other night. Is there's biases to this. No doubt about it.
Oh yeah, obviously. So I was looking if you play for the franchise, you're gonna go and vote for the guy that played on the same franchise. I got you.
You know what I'm saying? So I was.
But then there should be rules. You're not allowed to vote for the guy if you're from that franchise. You can't have him on that.
It just gets so complicated.
Then it becomes so complicated. See, and that's the whole point is you can go down the worst rabbit hole ever, and then people are going to take issue with any little thing if it doesn't go their way, right? And I was looking up the committees for the 4 major sports and how it kind of works, right? So like the NFL is 24 voting members for the NFL Hall of Fame. It's made up of Hall of Famers. I'm looking at the NBA one. Sorry. Well, I'll go with the NBA. The NBA one is 24 members. It's Hall of Famers, basketball executives, administrators, members of the media, and other experts in the game of basketball. So it's a mixed bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the NFL one since we were talking for that one? Let's see. Here it is. It's a 49-person committee. largely made up of media members, officially known as a selection committee. Baseball is straight up Baseball Writers Association.
Hate that.
Except for the Veterans Committee.
Hate it.
And then hockey is elected by an 18-person selection committee, which consists of Hockey Hall of Fame members and media personalities. So if we want to sit there and talk about whose eyeballs it should be, whose view, whose thought process, if we're going to go down that line, okay, then I'm going to trust the people that played it. If we're going to do that, right?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because I kind of brought it up in our pre-production and I think it happens more in baseball than it does the other sports, really. That's what made me think of it is sometimes, man, when those baseball writers, man, they're so like all up in their own shit.
Oh, they're in their feelings, man.
They're going to hold it against a player if you were an asshole to them. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the reasons why Bonds is not in. Because he was an ass, right?
Yeah,
he was known as an asshole to them. Now, I'm not saying that Barry Bonds is an asshole, like in general, right? But because I don't know the guy, but you've heard all the stories that he was an asshole to, to, like that's part of the reason. You think that the steroid is, 100% the reason why? No, it's because people didn't like him. I think Schilling might is thought that way. Like they just happened to also be doing the steroids, so now they got double whammy to keep him out. So if we want to kind of we only want the cream of the crop, then to me, that'll be the players be the only ones to make that decision.
I agree.
Yeah, believe it or not, it might even get harder if the players,
I agree.
Maybe a lot of guys think like Dion, and it might even be harder to get in.
But they better have a good idea of what that line is.
Yeah. Because look, like I think we've touched on this topic on different episodes. Feels like the old school guys always throw shade towards the new
That's
new
what
school
everything.
guys.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm saying. So would like, and I just want to use an elite quarterback from today that's balling, like let's say an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady, the cream of the crop now.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Terry Bradshaw's numbers and be like, yo, bro, that's whack. His numbers are whack compared to mine.
Yeah. So
is he a Hall of Famer or not? You see what I'm saying? So it's like that's the difficulty of this because the game is different. In all the sports, but especially in football.
But I think that's what they do, Pablo. I think that's how.
But then
that's what they've done until now. They grabbed like a Joe Namath, right? And they were like, he threw for 4,000 yards in an era where the next highest two quarterbacks outside of, let's say, Johnny Unitas were at like 1,500 yards.
Yeah.
And that's how he separated himself. And he did that over a long period of time, 3-4 years, where literally he was throwing 4,000 yards and everybody else was at 1,200, 1,300 yards. That's where he got it, right? So there's different, you could tell, like, okay, there are things that you see, like, okay, I'll give you an example, right? And I'll always say this, and I know I get a little heat for it, right? Because for a time that he did play, he was the best at the position for a short amount of time. But like a Terrell Davis.
I knew you were gonna say that.
A Terrell Davis, bro. You're gonna tell me a Terrell Davis belongs in the same Hall of Fame as an Emmitt Smith, as a Barry Sanders? Fuck no. Dude, you did it for 3-4 years, bro. You didn't do that shit with any type of longevity because you did it right for 3-4 years. You're going to tell me. And then there's players like a Frank Gore. There's players like, I'll give you an example.
Frank Gore is going to be a Hall of Famer.
My man Fred Taylor. Over the 10,000-yard club, right? 3-time Pro, All-Pro, in the Pro Bowl, 4-time All, something like that, whatever. He's not a Hall of Famer. But a Terrell Davis, who did it for 4 years, we can grab Fred Taylor's top 4 years, and we can compare them to Terrell Davis's top 4 years. So you're saying that if all he played, and the knock on him was that he got hurt a lot, and he might not make the Hall of Fame. They see that kind of stuff right there, drives me crazy. Because I'm like, Terrell Davis.
But at the same time, according to Dion, Fred Taylor wouldn't be a Hall of Famer. Because you have to sit there and think about it. You can't make the argument one way and then take an example to benefit when it's the exact thing that Dion is saying.
Right.
I think Fred Taylor is
not an automatic Hall of Famer.
But I think Dion would argue about Terrell Davis as well, not having the longevity to be in that.
That's what I'm agreeing.
But if you want to compare, you're comparing two specific individuals. But I'm talking about the overall principle of what he's doing.
No, and that's what I agree. I agree with him, though. I'm not saying Fred Taylor's a Hall of Famer. What I'm saying is that when you look, the criteria is so shitty that, you're letting people that are just average, because I think longevity is a huge part of the game. The fact that you did it, not just did it, but you did it for a long time. should count. That's why in Eli Manning, as much shit as I give him, yo, that guy was an Iron Man. You feel me? And that alone, that right there gives him a giant step into the Hall of Fame for me.
Well, he's top 10 in a lot of stats.
Yeah, he was an Iron Man. He stayed there. He played. Never hurt. Always, always in the game. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. So I don't know. It's a discussion to have. I think that AK made a great point. You are right. It is an ego-driven, conversation. It is whatever. Does he have a point? Yeah, a little bit. I think that, they are
like I said, to me, what's stupid about it is if you want to question criteria, no problem. That's a good conversation to have.
Yeah.
But to say that if you get in,
once you're in, right,
you're gonna have these labels. That is the ego part.
Yeah. Once you're in, you're in.
Dion, everyone knows you're one of the best ever.
Yeah, and
if someone says one of the best, then with another guy or two, so is Dion think that they should be silvers then, and he should be the only gold? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right.
So it's just stupid to have a label after the fact. If you want to, question the criteria to get in, no problem.
Then again, Dion's never been the most humble guy, so it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you very much. We had a great show. I want to appreciate everybody, all my guys for coming through with the heat, with their points as always. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you, man. Thank you for coming into our living room, our locker room, our barbershop, our virtual studio, man, where we go off the beaten path and we take the road less traveled when it comes to a lot of these topics. That mainstream media, they gloss over. I'm not sure how many of these topics mainstream media is talking about the Hall of Fame and stuff like that, like we did today. But these are the kind of things that we want to talk about. And I welcome you guys to join us, share, follow, let your friends know and comment. More importantly, follow us. Let us know, man. If you can't listen to us today where we're live, check us out on Spotify, check us out on iTunes, iHeart, etc., wherever you get your podcast needs met. This has been the Sports is My Love Language podcast. I'm here with my boy El Shefter, my man Javito, my boy Dre, and my man AK. I'm your boy Dropping Dimes, aka the Hopeful Romantic, aka the feminist with chauvinist tendencies. Ladies and gentlemen, the two most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you discover why. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for walking in our why. You guys have a great night. Take it easy now. Peace.
Peace.